everyone, my name is Jo Carey. I'm a conservation accredited architect and I work for Hyperstyle Architects. Over the last 8 years I've been involved in property repair, mainly tenemental blocks, a lot of which I've been fortunate enough to receive funding with Edinburgh World Heritage, and that's really what I'm here to talk to you today is about the work that I've done over the last 8 years in kind of tenemental property repairs that we have carried out, the various problems with that. Quick background on Hyperstyle Architects: we've got 2 offices, one in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow. There's about 50 staff between the 2 of us. We cover a range of different disciplines, but my focus is conservation work to existing properties. What kind of projects have we done over the last 8 to 10 years working with Edinburgh World Heritage? I've worked in lots of different districts of both Edinburgh and Glasgow. Some projects have been pretty extensive, requiring a huge amount of repair. Other projects have been a bit more smaller, dealing with, say, water ingress problems or certain problems that you experience with a typical traditional building. Ranging from gutter repair, balustrade reinstatement, to full facade takedown and rebuild. Each project that we've worked on has been very important, vital to the property owner to make sure that their problem has been dealt with. So Edinburgh encompasses a huge variety of historically and aesthetically significant properties. A huge proportion of Edinburgh's street line is made up of tenemental properties, but sadly these properties, as I'm sure you'll be aware walking through the city, are now in a poor and failing condition. And it's becoming critical that property owners, people who own these buildings, repair and look after their buildings. Why is it so important to look after your buildings? First of all, to prevent masonry falls, material falls, which can injure the public or damage property. The legal implications if you don't look after your property. If a stone fall hits someone passing by. Something very dear to Edinburgh World Heritage's heart is to maintain the fabric and architectural features to keep your property's historical and aesthetic significance intact. And a really common problem to prevent water ingress, which maybe if you live on the ground floor flat you don't experience, but if you live on the top floor flat you certainly do. If ignored, it leads to all kinds of problems, rot, and it just leads to extensive and very expensive repair. Why are so many buildings in poor repair now in Edinburgh? Generally just due to weathering and maintenance neglect, of which there's a huge amount of throughout the city. Good intentions, yet inappropriate cement repairs, which are too hard for the stone, has led to a lot of deterioration. A lot of that was done 20 or 30 years ago, and as a result many of the properties are now dangerous and in need of upgrade and repair. Consequences if you don't look after your building. Here's an example in Windsor Street where you can see there the cornice stone gave way, ripping the balcony, associated stones right above an entrance. Again, this was just due to lack of maintenance. Luckily no one was harmed, but the repair was costly, significant and very disruptive. I'm sure you've all heard of the Ryan's Bar incident in 2000. This was actually due to an inappropriate repair. The building was repaired, but inappropriately. It was due to an inappropriate repair technique of the screw bolts here, which slid down and sadly killed a waitress who was working in the glass conservatory below. And it demonstrates how vital it is that if you are to repair your property, you do so by a person with competent standard, with people who know exactly what they are doing. So tenement blocks can have many flats within one block. It's not uncommon, as I'm sure you know, to have 16 flats within one close, which can make looking after your property difficult. In many cases, if you're part of a tenement block, you might not know the condition of your roof or chimneys or whatever, and it's only when a stone fall happens or water ingress occurs that you actually know you've got to do something about your property. At that time, repair works can come as a great shock and unwelcome expense. Now, we've worked with a number of projects with Edinburgh World Heritage, and I'm going to show you now 3 projects that we've worked on. 2 have required extensive repairs, and 1 is quite minor. But all of them have been vital, to be honest with you, the integrity of the city in terms of the fabric, but also as a health and safety kind of nature. So the first one's in Royal Terrace. You can see here the owners became aware that there was a bit of a problem when stone fell at roof level, the balustrades at roof level, onto the street. Upon inspection, obviously you can see the balustrades are in really bad condition with eroded and loose stonework. I was able just to move these balustrades out with my hands. They weren't tied appropriately. And at such a high level, a stonefall of this nature could obviously have proven fatal. So what did we do? We firstly made the area safe. All the loose stones were renewed and the new balustrades were fixed correctly. So although this was of a fairly minor nature, you might say, in terms of a repair of a building, it was critical for not only health and safety, but also to maintain the integrity of the street line of Royal Terrace itself, which is why it got funding from Edinburgh World Heritage. Second project I'm going to talk about is right opposite the one that you saw the cornice collapse on. This is on the corner block of Windsor Street and Montgomery Street. It's a B-listed building in an important corner block of the Playfair design scheme. 16 owners were involved in this repair, which costed £988,000. It was quite a lot. It was mainly stonework repairs that we did. We took down 2 gables and rebuilt them in their entirety. We put in temporary screening inside the flat so that people could still live in them. And we basically completely overhauled the stonework and the roof. The problem with the stonework here was that it was laid on cant. So we could never get back to a sound surface, which was why we had to replace a lot of the stones. Edinburgh World Heritage provided significant grant funding for the stonework and chimney repairs, as the block was considered to be so significant due to its position within the Playfair's scheme. We were luckily enough to be able to reinstate Playfair's octagonal chimneys here after consultation with Edinburgh World Heritage listed building and Historic Scotland. And generally throughout the building, the intricate weathering and carvings we reinstated to maintain the aesthetic significance of the block. The last project here is Shamrock Place. Again, this was an extensive facade replacement. There was a number of stone falls on a really busy pedestrian route. There was only 4 commercial owners here, and the repair works costed £1.3 million, mainly due to all the intricate stone carvings that you can see here. The intricate stone carvings have suffered from severe stone deterioration. We had to redesign the rainwater goods to make sure that the water was flowing correctly off the roof and down the facade. And we got a conservator in to consolidate the front entrance and all of the sculptures. So there was a lot of skilled masons that were needed for this, a lot of skilled tradesmen, apprenticeships were involved in it, and Edinburgh World Heritage supported it heavily, which was great. But the main aim of this was all about sorting out all of these little carvings here, making sure that the water was getting down off the roof appropriately and not just flooding down. And we were lucky enough to have really good tradesmen on the job who did an excellent job of doing all the stone carvings. So our traditional buildings within Edinburgh are precious and should be retained and looked after in as much of their original condition as possible. Maintaining and repairing these buildings with the appropriate materials and skills where required is imperative. We really must make sure we get the right people to do the job. Edinburgh World Heritage enabled the 3 projects that I've shown you to be carried out, and by assisting with the funding, helped maintain the building's original features and keep their significance intact.